Hello, welcome back to my channel. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more Zeeworld updates. So the last update about once there was a king. The king and Gayatri finally consummate their marriage. Let's continue. The prince watches Kaal throw the knife just in front of a small child who pee in fear. He says that since he was afraid, now he will get punished. If not him, then his father. People around says that he is his own son. Kaal says that the child will get punished. He picks the child up and was about to throw him when the prince shouted no. Kaal throws the knife just in front of the prince, asking who he is. The prince shows him the ring and throws it towards him. He recognizes it. Gayatri instructs the servant about decorating the palace till morning. She takes the towel of the puja from his hand. She feels dizzy at once. The king comes to hold her. She says she might not have slept enough. She watches stains on his shirt and was shocked to see blood. The king says that it is not blood, it is vermilion. She asks him, saying that she is worried. Lakan comes to Suana's room. She was getting ready and she hid her face, saying that a groom must not see the bride before marriage. Lakan holds Suana towards him and says that he was waiting to get her for a long time. He never dreamt of marrying a princess. He promises her not to let tears come in her eyes. Suana cries and says that sometimes tears are of happiness as well. She asks him to go now. It is a bad omen. Lakan cups her face and says watching her can never be a bad omen. He kisses her forehead. She pushed him away and ties her chain around his waist. He must watch it when he remembers her. They heard some noise. Lakan goes out of the window. Gayatri comes in and says that no bride must have been as beautiful as she is. A guard gives Grandma the suite of Suana and Lakan's wedding suite. Gayatri and the king look towards each other while bringing the bride and the groom respectively from the stairs. Kaal comes into the palace, fighting with the guards and swirling the knives in his hand. Grandma notices his presence. One of the guards comes to slap Kaal, but of no use. He arrives in front of the jail where Grandma was locked into, and he deroots the gate with one single jack. Grandma says that there is wedding at home. Should they go to bless them, and walks out. The wedding begins. Suana and Lakan share an eye lock before putting on flower garland around each other's necks. Grandma headed towards the hall with Kaal and the prince. Kaal fights the guard on duty. Gayatri feels dizzy at once. The king's mother notices while the king holds her. Gayatri says that she is not fine. She feels dizzy and nostalgic, but waits for the wedding to end. The king says that this dizziness has been in his favor. She used to leave his hand before in shyness, but today she has held his hand. Kokila wonders if it is about what she is thinking. The wedding thread breaks. Suana was worried that it is a bad omen. Gayatri thinks about the stain on the king's shirt and was worried. The king's mother says that it was a weak thread, so it broke. She asks Suana to tie another. The prince laughs as Kaal urges the guards around. The king whispers to Gayatri that he wants to remarry, watching them getting married. Gayatri stares at him. He says he wants to remarry her because when they had married before, he did not like her. She asks now. He says he will think about it. He says it is going to be 1 year to their marriage in a few days. What about getting married again? Grandma says today Kaal is coming with her. It is Kaal of the king and his family. The priest asks who will do the Canadian. Suana was upset at once. The king stands up and announces that he will do it. If a father cannot do it, then it is a brother's right. Suana was happy. All at once, the fire goes off. The window slaps in the windstorms. Gayatri goes to shut the windows. Suana was upset. Gayatri asks the priest to begin again. Gayatri ties the knot and the wedding rounds begins. The king throws the flower over Gayatri. They both play with each other. Grandma enters the hall with Kaal and points towards him. He takes an aim and throws the knife. Kaal throws the knife. Suana watches this and comes to cover Gayatri. Suana was hurt at the back with the knife and she fell on the floor. Lakan, who was lost, goes towards Suana. Gayatri watches blood over her hand. Suana breathed her last breath and she died. Grandma calls the king and says that if he wanted to punish her, she brought his punishment along with her. Kaal moves his knife and says, Kaal, Maha Kaal. All the guests around hide themselves. Gayatri stops the king from going ahead. Lakan comes towards Kaal and grabs him from behind. Kaal kicks him hard for once. Lakan faints. The king moves towards Kaal. Grandma orders Kaal to kill the king. The king fights back with Kaal using his sword. Gayatri stops the king, but Kokila pushes her to the floor. Grandma owes the king's mother, but the king had fallen on the floor. Gayatri gets hold of the gun lying nearby and points it towards Kaal. When she watches him insert both his knife inside the chest of the king, Grandma cheers. Gayatri drops the gun and shouted, "My king!" The king looks towards her and breathed his last breath, and the king died. Gayatri and the king's mother tried to wake the king. Grandma orders Kaal to kill Gayatri as well. Kaal grabs Gayatri by the hair from behind. The king's mother joins her hand to Grandma and pleaded with her. Grandma asks Kaal to finish Gayatri. Lakan comes back to conscious then. Kaal grabs Gayatri's neck and laughs that if this sparrow will hunt the lion. Lakan watches the king and comes to push Kaal from behind. He takes Gayatri outside. Grandma watches Swana, the king, and everyone down on the floor. She looks around and wonders that where is Gayatri. Gayatri struggles with Lakan and cries that she wants to die and go back to the king. The king mother slaps Gayatri and says that the king sacrificed for her and she wants to spoil his sacrifice. Gayatri says that the king can never die, he will live, and his child is living inside her. She must live for him. Gayatri hugs the king's mother and cries. Grandma cries in pain and regret and curtly says that she will not leave Gayatri alive. Lakan watches the chain of Swana. Swana comes to consciousness. She looks around. She removes the knife from her wound and calls Gayatri and Lakan. She comes ahead and shouted, watching the king lying there dead. She cries over the king. Grandma comes inside with Kaal, so does the prince and Kokila. She backs up as Grandma tells her not to worry. She is among her family. She asks Swana if she is afraid of this bloodshed. Swana asks about Gayatri and Lakan. Grandma says that they have run away but they will come back for sure, either dead or alive. Swana joins her aunt that Lakan is her husband, either let her go to him or kill her. Grandma holds her up and says that she has to live her life as she carries the hair. She tells Kokila to keep her in the jail. She is dead for the world, but they will keep her and their hair alive. Lakan tells the king's mother that they must be looking around for them. They have to move on and cross the borders of Amrakot. Gayatri sat with a tree, lost in her thought. They hear some men coming towards them and they hide themselves. Kaal says that the king and his loyal dogs have died. He laughs and thinks about taking his dead body to the mountain dogs. The prince comes there and says that he cannot do this. Kaal asks who will stop him. The village men greet Gayatri and the king's mother. The men says that they cannot bring the king back to life, but they will protect them. Gayatri says that the king's name is respect and his body is there in the palace. His coronation will be performed like a prince. Gayatri says that she will go to the palace tomorrow to get back the body of the king. Lakan asks if she knows that Grandma has been looking for them. Gayatri says that she will do this to protect the respect of her husband. It is her right to give the fire to the king's body. She doesn't want to lose that right. Grandma comes and says to Kaal that the king was a prince. They cannot humiliate his dead body. His coronation will be performed with full royal rituals. It is a trap. Gayatri will be attracted to them hearing about the king's burial. They will catch Gayatri alive. She wants to see Gayatri lose in her eyes. Kaal laughs. Grandma orders for an announcement around Almakot that tomorrow the last ritual of the king will be performed tomorrow morning. Gayatri tears a piece of cloth with the king's blood. She says that this blood is a symbol of the betrayer that took the place of the king, and she ties it around her forehead. She says that the time of life has ended now. They either have to kill or to die. She swears that either she will bring her husband's body or she will give her life. Thank you for watching my video. Please don't forget to like my video and please share it and also subscribe to my channel for more updates. Thank you.